Bitcoiners! Don't let extreme moves plant your seeds of opinion and pay attention to the charts. In this episode, people, I'm going to go over some serious things that are going on in Bitcoin right now. So, as we know, Bitcoin has been pushing the 80K level, and this is pretty important. It actually broke it a bit, but it's not as bad as it may seem. Don't get caught up in the hype. In these situations, this is where opportunity truly shines if you have the ability to recognize it. So, like I said, in this video, we're going to go over Bitcoin, we're going to go over Ethereum, we're going to talk about the key levels where you should be anticipating reversal if the market wants to deliver such a scenario. But at the same time, we're going to be talking about the bearish scenario as well. Because, yes, we do have a broader bearish scenario that's developing, and you need to know how to prepare for that if the market continues to break support levels. All right, let's go! So first, before I get into all that stuff, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Say hello. It's more helpful than you think, and really appreciate the support. Also, make sure you check the other links in the description as well, because there's a lot of value there. All right, now, and yeah, one of those things is the free Telegram channel. You want to check that out because we also share all of our updates and trade ideas and signals and everything else that's happening. So make sure, people. And real quick, I am still running the $10,000 to $100,000 trade challenge. You can see that here when I switch this over to the live. And this is still active. I'm going to go over I'm going to talk more about this momentarily. But yes, we have a few trades in play. And this is important to understand. I bring this up because I had a particular trade in Ethereum that I took a smaller position in case we had a scenario like this. Because again, we were prepared, and you should have been too, because we talked about it in these videos. All right, now, before we get into the charts, let's talk about Trump, folks. Trump has a new thing coming out next week in the White House, folks. The next meeting on cryptocurrency is only 2 days away, the Clarity Act. People, make sure you're familiar with this act. I know, you don't want to read all that stuff, but a lot of times there is value in knowing how the law works and what changes are coming about and what all that means. Because like I've said before, what shapes the future? What shapes the future is not charts. It's law and it's economics, okay? Economic catalysts, events, and lawmakers. So a lot of insight there. Check it out. Next, let's go into this. Now, hold on. I'm going to pause this real quick because I want to make sure you guys can hear it. But President Trump tweeted on Truth Social, the greatest, it's the greatest explanation of Bitcoin ever, folks. It's wonderful, folks. You'll love it. It will explain everything, why you should own Bitcoin, and you should pay your rent at my properties in Bitcoin. Let's take a listen.
Bitcoin is the world's first cryptocurrency, and it works because of the world's first public blockchain network. What does Bitcoin do? It's simple. It lets you send and receive value to and from anyone in the world using nothing more than a computer and an internet connection. Now,
all right, we don't need to anymore. I'm falling asleep over here. You get the idea. But anyway, you see, like the president of the country is putting out a tweet like this. I mean, this tells us one thing. This guy is behind this. This guy is behind Bitcoin, and I find it very hard to believe that this administration is going to let Bitcoin go to zero. All right, you understand what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. Lawmakers have power, and they can shape the future. And this is why, when you have extreme situations like we're having right now, you have to keep your eyes peeled for contrarian opportunities, because this is how they set up. More about that in a minute. So, one more news item. So check this out. This is what everyone's reacting to. Where you have 1.6 billion in Bitcoin ETFs sold in January, third largest sell-off in history of these ETFs. Now remember, this is retail getting banged out, and this is where the big, the whales, the institutions, this is their opportunity to accumulate while they shake the weak hands out. So remember a few weeks ago, whatever, all those ETF inflows and blah, 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 right? this is why you have to think like a contrarian, because you don't go nuts when things are going higher and things are looking great, because that's when risk is increasing. You want to pay attention when this situation comes up, because this is where lower risk opportunities come from. You must be able to adjust. Yes, I know it's not intuitive, but that's something you have. If you want to be a participant in the markets, you have to think this way. All right, now let's get into the chart, shall we? Hold on, I'm going to pull my first chart up here so we can see what's going on, and we're going to begin with the monthly Bitcoin chart very quickly so we get some overview. You should always be checking this time frame. Now, as we can see, price has pulled in on the monthly time frame into this major support area, and we have a couple of scenarios that we're going to get into that can be analyzed further on the smaller time frame. But as you see here, the trend line, the monthly trend line, has been broken, and that is an important piece of information because it does add weight to the bearish scenario, but we still have one more support to clear. So the trend line is like the first step. You should be like, okay, perhaps I should be adjusting risk. Now, when we get to the Bitcoin daily time frame, let's pull that up here. You can see we had a trend line break as well. We've talked about this trend line numerous times, and we're seeing the bearish momentum accelerate. Now, you want to pay attention to this 74,430 area. Keep in mind, that's just above 73,000. If you know anything about Bitcoin history, oops, let me do that. If you know anything about Bitcoin history, you will realize that 73,000 was the peak, the election breakout peak, right? So before the presidential election in 24, 73,000 was the all-time high, and then it broke out during the election. We are on our way back to that key area. There are other numerous overlapping fundamental pieces of information as well that align with that number. I'm not going to go over all of that now, but understand it's a major level. If you are short, that would be an excellent objective. And I mean, with this momentum right now, great for short-term shorts. If you're a day trader or maybe a short-term swing trader, you're on your way there. But don't get carried away. This thing is going to be less likely to break that area. It can break it. We must be prepared for that, but it is less likely. So it is a good idea to think less of shorts in this situation as you're getting to a major support. Another thing you want to avoid here is I'm not going to say don't do it, but it's a high risk short. The closer you get to these supports, it's a likely bounce, and you don't want to get caught in that. That traps traders all the time. That's why I said don't get stuck with an opinion, right? You have to consider both sides. Now, moving along here, all right, I see I have to pop those up there. We have a special setup developing on the 4-hour time frame, and this is the trade idea that is potentially in play here. It's the only trade idea we have right now. Again, it's an idea. It's not an actual trade. This is a preparation. This is the point of having the Telegram channel and why you should be paying attention, because when the trade idea, the actual signal comes out, that's where it's going to be. Now, we have a fib setup developing over here. We have a measurement, and this is actually, as I'm going over these charts, you can see the price is actually pushed slightly below her. This fib may have to be adjusted, but we have to see how this candle closes, right? There's no point in continuing to adjust it until the candle closes. Now, what you're looking for in this situation, the ideal short setup, which I don't always talk about shorts, but hey, when the market says you want to work on the bearish side, that's what you do, right? You listen to the market, not what you think the market's going to do. If this thing bounces, if Bitcoin initially bounces, and again, with something like the Clarity Act on the horizon, that can occur. That can serve as a catalyst, and next thing you know, Bitcoin's up 5,000 points. It can happen. That's why you don't want to be overly bearish at such support levels. If you get that bounce, don't think that that's the bounce back to 100K. Although, many people on TikTok may be saying so. You must be able to come up with your own opinion, and that's what I'm here to help you do. This key resistance, you can see it's around that 87 area, right? 87,000. Look at the fib levels in that area. I can expand this chart a bit here. You have the 618 at around 86,363. That area, if Bitcoin can retest those areas, that's going to act as a likely resistance. And if you're looking for shorts, That's your high probability area. That is where you do it if you're going to do it. Not now. This is the high risk levels. Now, if you want the lower risk, higher probability, you're going to have to be patient if you want a higher probability trade, and that's the level to do it. So please take notes. Keep this in mind. Now, before we continue, I want to just jump over and do a quick review. Hold on a second. I got to hold on. Let me just press this button here. Yeah. All right. I want to give you a quick review of the trade challenge that I've been talking about here. Let me just put this back here. So even though we've had we've had two winning trades, right? I'm just getting ahead of myself. Two winning trades, one losing trade. Even with that situation, the account is still up $446, or basically 4.46%, right? Almost 5%. And the stats look good right now. Understand, what can you learn from this? Why do I even show this to you? Because that third trade that I took, that Ethereum long, that was a 0.5% position. And I specifically explained why it was a 0.5%. The market was starting to move, and there was an opportunity cost, and I had to make a decision. I let it go and take nothing, or if I want to be aggressive, I take a small bite. If we have this bearish scenario unfold, I have compensated for that risk. So it got stopped out. I lose a 0.5%, and I never had the opportunity to take the second 0.5%. So what does that translate into? It means when I lose smaller. When I win bigger, simply because I have a strategy for sizing, and I can tie that into the technical signals, right? That's the kind of information you put out in that free Telegram channel. Anyway, so right now, this is what it looks like. It's still intact. I suggest you follow it. Hey, paper trade if you're not sure. Paper trade it and see how it goes. This is 10,000. We're on our way to 100,000, and we're looking for our next trade. Now, let's get into Ethereum, shall we? Oh, by the way, let me just go back to that slide real quick. This is the Profits Precision platform. In case you were wondering, you're like, oh, what is this thing? Profits Precision. I can show you the website right here real quick. It's a journaling platform. It's very helpful, especially if you're newer, because what it helps you do is it forces you to take notes. You upload your trades, and by journaling, you can spot your own behavioral problems, and you can improve. You can figure out what times a day are best for you to trade. It really helps you focus in on your own behaviors and see it from a perspective that otherwise you may miss. If you think, oh yeah, I'll remember, right? So make sure to check that out. Now, let's jump over to Ethereum. Before I wrap this up, we have a couple more things to talk about, so stick with me here. Here's Ethereum on the daily time frame, right? And of course, Ethereum got really hammered here. Blew through some levels, right? 26, 22. We've been talking about these levels on these videos. Now, that was a key support area. It swiped liquidity, as I like to say. It basically consumed it, and there was no bounce. So again, in these situations, you don't sit there and say, oh, it's going to bounce, I'm going to buy it. No, you sit there and let the market prove itself. You let it confirm once it reaches your level of interest. At this point right now, the short side is what carries more weight, especially on the smaller time frames. So just like that Bitcoin idea, Ethereum typically follows. So look at this, right? Any kind of push back into that 2850, 2900, 3000, those are key levels on the way back up. You're looking for bearish confirmations. Now, for this to change back to bullish, we need to stay above 3,000. We need to consume the liquidity above 3,000 and get a change of structure. Until we have that scenario, don't step in front of this thing, because the bearish scenario is now favored probability-wise. So on the smaller time frame, let's move along here, and I got to pop this up. That's the supply zone that we were just looking at on the bigger picture, right? So you can see it more clearly on the 4-hour time frame. Don't get sucked into this nonsense. This can steer you the wrong way, because this is where you put your Captain Obvious hat on. Oh, this thing's going to go to zero. Don't react to this. This is extreme price moves. Let the market stabilize. Now, if you want to do anything, the short side is where the probability is. Wait for it and wait for a bounce. Wait for a key level. Your first one on the 4-hour time frame, which is ideal for smaller time frame swing trades, is that 2783 area. And like I said, that supply zone above, That's the key zone. If it is cleared, then the character changes. That's important for measuring risk. Because if you do get short and it pops through there, you do not want to hold on to something like that. All right, just keep that in mind. All right, people. So as I'm wrapping this up, again, all trades are taken on the WeX platform, and you should check that out. Right, link is in the description, and everything is documented on Profits Precision as I just described. People, do me a favor. Make sure to check out the free Telegram channel. It will only help you. You will learn a lot, and that's where all of our signals are and everything else, updates. And like I said, the links are in the description. You can see that right here. All right, so again, I really appreciate you sticking with me. Look, you got the idea. Bitcoin is still in an area that can turn, right? It's still around that 80K. Ethereum has broken further, so there's a little more weakness there, but you have the game plan for that. And you just have to keep an eye on both sides and don't get sucked into an opinion. All right, again, thank you. I really appreciate your time. Leave me a comment, say hello, and let me know if you agree with me or not, because I read those comments. All right, so people, enjoy your day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.